What's up, guys? It's Afc Mountaintops back again. Middle of August already. Kind of insane. We already had a game played, which is awesome. We'll talk about that sort of a little bit later on. But first off, let me introduce my co-host, Jeremy. How you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing fantastic. We have football under our belts and football pretty much every weekend from now until the end of January. So, as shortly as I can put it, we made it. We survived. Football's back in the rotation. It's not just a one-time thing. It's not just the first game as it was, like you mentioned just last week, or Hall of Fame game. But yeah, it's good to get back into the swing of things and have conversations that matter, have trade talks that matter, have drafts that have a little bit more girth now. Because camps are going on. Yeah, spring is in the air, and when I say spring, I mean pigskin.
Yeah, and I know it's almost time for football season. Whenever I send the text out to my home redraft league, hey, it's almost time to draft. Here's the information. I just sent that out last week, so I'm super excited for that. So I know Dynasty is all year round, but redraft is only 4 or 5 months or whatever it is. So pretty cool there. And
No,
also,
full agreement. I actually have a draft this weekend. I have a rookie draft this weekend, so if I have two and five of my leagues. Two drafts are a little bit later. One is this weekend, ready to start a camp. So I'm getting prepared for that.
awesome, man. Yeah, and it's probably nicer to have a rookie draft later because you're kind of seeing what is happening, right? Who's performing, who's not, because there's a little bit of change I feel like coming.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was just going to make a comment on was it's already making some changes. It's already just seen some of these players like, for example, Zachariah Branch. He's been moving up the list to the wide receiver out of Atlanta because Tua's been talking him up, and then it's pretty much signs are evident that Tua is going to be the starter because Penix's health is not necessarily 100% at the time. But like Zachariah Branch is moving up, Stribling is moving up, Jacoby Lane. Like these are some names that you could have got in the third, fourth round in drafts 3 months ago, but now you're gonna have to gamble with second round picks to acquire.
Yeah, and Antonio Williams, you think about him, he's now three at best on his own team this year. So
Yeah,
I know it's a dynasty league that you're talking about, but a lot of people look at the first year as, what can you do for me this year and then following?
yeah,
So he
yeah.
probably
To your
falls a little
point,
bit as well.
yeah. To that point, it was probably this people and individuals drafting him, knowing that he would have been a potential wide receiver too at that time. But Diggs kind of blew that up. So yeah, I mean that's the advantage of having these a little bit later, and I have to approach it a lot differently now than I did, like I said, a few months ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of which, we're actually going to talk about Biggs in just a few minutes with our news portion here with deals, injuries, and some miscellaneous craziness that's going on in the world of football here as well. We also have the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about today is the East, AFC and NFC East. Um, We'll talk about the re-signs, additions, departures, the draft picks, MVP and dark horse for each team. All of this encompassed in fantasy only. So this is only going to be skill position players that we're going to talk about. However, there's enough to talk about, especially in the AFC East division. And then player profile on Kyren Williams, who I think is one of the most polarizing players in the NFL. I say this almost every week, but this one actually I think everyone agrees at this point. You either love him, hate him, or not really indifferent at this point. It feels like. And then we're going to come back with the NFC East to finish up. But first off, we're going to start out with the news. Some big deals being made. I'm going to run through these, and then we can talk about them however you want there, Jeremy. But Zay Flowers and the Ravens, 4-year, $140 million. I have him at wide receiver 16, 44 overall. I really like Zay Flowers. Helps. I'm excited to see what happens with him. Stephon Diggs, we talked about kind of already. The Commanders signed him for a 1-year deal up to $12 million. Jonathan Taylor gets re-signed, 2-year, $44 million with the Colts. Running back 6. I have him at running back 6, 26 overall. Jahmyr Gibbs in the Lions, as we said last week. Bijan got his on Tuesday. Gibbs, I think, got his Thursday morning. if I'm not mistaken. 3 years, $67.5 million, up to $75.75 million. That 0.75 is significant to me because he's now the highest paid running back in the NFL. I have him RB1 and 4 overall. And then Hunter Henry with the Patriots. This is the one that shocked me the most, to be honest. 2 years, up to $20 million. I had him. I'm gonna have to readjust this now at tight end 41 because I thought this was his last year. 229 overall, but obviously that's gonna have to shoot up a little bit because he's staying a Patriot for a few more years, and Eli Raridan's gonna have to sit on the bench.
Yeah, great call out on Hunter Henry. He deserves some love here. Mr. Reliable. He kind of reminds me of like a Kate Otten, where he's not necessarily going to break the bank in regards to acquire him. He's not necessarily going to win you a championship, but he's going to get you some points in a field that necessarily doesn't get you some points. The New England Patriots love and always have loved their tight ends, and he's just filled into the role perfectly. Like you mentioned, the 2 running backs, yes, that 0.75 is important because he does make him the highest paid player in the league. And I believe this is one of those situations at which the player who's getting paid deserves to be the highest payer. I think we are about to see one hell of a record breaking year this year for Gibbs. So, wheels up on him. And I'm a big fan of the storylines. The Diggs one is the biggest storyline of all, coming from Maryland. Having that Maryland background, and now he's going to be a part of the Washington Commanders, which are stationed right outside Maryland. I think it's going to be a cool storyline. I think he's going to slide right into the wide receiver too. From what I'm understanding, he's in fantastic shape. He showed up to camp ready to go, and he looks like he's going to fill perfectly in for that wide receiver too for Jaden Daniels.
I think it's fascinating that everyone just assumes that he's the wide receiver too. In their careers, I feel like Diggs has been better than McLaurin. So I'm pretty
so you're going wide receiver 1. Okay, I was like, he's definitely on wide receiver 3.
No, I'm fascinated that people are just writing him off as the number 2 when he's the one who had 1,000 yards last year. He's the one who's been bouncing around and still good when he's healthy. Better than Terry McLaurin has been. He might be a couple years older, but they're really in the same realm of their career. So it's going to be fascinating to see that as well, that dynamic. If it's going to work, I think it will. But it gives Jaden Daniels an extra receiver for sure, someone that he can definitely go to if need be, which is really nice for him. The Commanders are looking pretty decent on offense. We'll see about the defense. Also, we have some injuries, unfortunately. I don't know if these are lingering, except for this first one, but Luther Burden III in the Bears, he has a groin injury. He's expected to miss the rest of preseason. I had him wide receiver 25, 64 overall, so pretty significant there to not be in preseason. Usually when you don't perform in preseason, it causes a possibility of more injury during the season, from what I've seen at least. I don't have a diagnosis or anything or any numbers on that, but just visually, that's what I kind of have seen in the past. Zay Flowers and the Ravens, quad contusion. I'm not sure. Have you heard anything on this at all?
No, nothing, not an update in regards to what he's doing. It doesn't sound like it's too serious, and it sounds like he should be back for after this preseason weekend.
Okay, so it doesn't sound very serious. That's good. My share of Zay Flowers was like screaming at me when I found this out. So Isaiah Pacheco in the Lions MCL sprain. If he is hurt, even a little bit, Jahmyr Gibbs just becomes the running back 1, and maybe I don't know how he goes any higher. But everyone expects him to be splitting a little bit of time at least with Pacheco. If Pacheco goes down, there's nobody. So this is kind of interesting as well. I don't know how severe the MCL sprain is.
From what I understand, the MCL sprain is a sprain, and if it was something in regards to a mid-regular season thing, he would miss a week. But it sounds like they're going to kind of hold him off until week 1. It sounds like he's going to be good to go for week 1, wheels up. But he's going to miss an entire preseason. He's missing entire weeks of camp. So there's going to be some rust there. I'm on the Pacheco wagon. I do think that he does take some touches off of Gibbs, especially in the red zone. But this is definitely going to highlight a slow start for Pacheco with him missing all this time.
Yeah, and the other worry for Pacheco, at least, or Pacheco owners, if you still think he might be able to be a starter or anything like that, um, now they're going to get a lot of time to be able to see the younger guys who are behind these two, because you're not going to have Jahmyr Gibbs really play in the preseason, right? So it's going to be interesting to give them a little bit of run as well, to see what they have. So just a couple other notes we have here. Sean Mannion in the Eagles OC, I thought this was significant because everyone's bashing Jalen Hurts, so let's give him some praise. Still lean into the tush push. They're still doing the tush push in Philly. They're not getting rid of it, even with the new offense coordinator, so that's good for Jalen Hurts, of course. Saquon Barkley, not so much. But if they're able to run it, they're still going to run it. So real quick, wanted to say that. Kyler Murray and the Vikings, he will be the starting quarterback at least week 1. I have him quarterback 16, just like everybody else does, at 61. And that was kind of hedging my bet if he wasn't going to be the starter. So I'm probably going to move him up now that we have that information. Can't move him up too much further, though, because the quarterbacks in front of him are legitimate threats in fantasy. So it's pretty cool to see that. And then Carson Beck plays well, 15 and 19, 188 yards and a touchdown. I have him quarterback 37, 195 overall. I think he's probably, outside of Fernando Mendoza, the first rookie that'll start. And that's just because the Arizona Cardinals are a train wreck. In my opinion, in arguably the best division in football outside of them. It's going to be a rough season if you're a Cardinals fan, and I apologize for that. But at least you get the chance to see Carson Beck perform, even though it was probably against the second or third defense. It still looked pretty good.
Yeah, fully agree. And when we're going to talk about the game a little bit more, but let's shout out that Pro Football Hall of Fame game. Like, that was probably one of, if not the best Hall of Fame game that my eyes have seen. Those games are usually kind of slow, methodic, mud-like games, but this one was like peak Sunday Night Football, man. Like, this was insane. Like, you gave Carson Beck some flowers, which I'm glad to see, but Haynes King, regardless of the injury report now post game, but Haynes King definitely had that dramatic game-winning rushing touchdown as time expired, and had himself a decent day. He had better statistical numbers than Kenny Pickett, unfortunately, as you and I are both Kenny Pickett fans. Both teams had the young quarterbacks that look well. Both teams were able to highlight some of their depth, and it's just icing on the cake for what we're about to have, and seeing a little bit more starters coming into play here this weekend.
Yeah, I highlighted Carson Beck because he was the one that we've been talking about.
100%.
Haynes King might have been the best player on the field, to be honest with you, at least for the Hall of Fame game. He played really well. So it's fun to see that as well. And I think he's a rookie as well, so that's good.
Yes, he is.
So anything else you wanted to talk about the news going on? I know we had a bunch of stuff to talk about. Usually we don't take this much time, but there was a lot going on. We're getting into football season. Let's go.
Yeah, man. Well said. That's exactly what the thing is. That I'm happy. I'd rather be rushed and be crammed on a podcast, providing our listeners with all as much information as possible, but having that be a plethora of information and it being slow information. It's the start of football season, and I'm happy to be able to provide a bunch of news and a bunch of opinions and feedback on surrounding stories that's going on. So I think we wrapped it up rather well. I think we're wheeled up on here, and let's jump into the East.
Let's go. AFC East. We got the Buffalo Bills first. Perennial Super Bowl favorites, it seems like. But the head coach is gone. Sean McDermott was fired. Joe Brady takes over, formerly the Bills offensive coordinator. They re-signed Kyle Allen as the backup quarterback, and I was surprised about this one. Tight end Dawson Knox as a pseudo backup, but he played more than the starter, so that tight end room is interesting to me. Also, they add DJ Moore, which was a trade from the Bears. Departures: Curtis Samuel was released, the wide receiver. He has not found a team yet. We'll see if he does or not. The better wide receiver there. They draft Skylar Bell out of UConn, another wide receiver, in round 4, 125th overall. Not a whole lot of movement for the Bills, but I mean, you got Allen, you got Cook, you got Moore, hopefully Kincaid. Pretty fun offense, to be honest. So, what's your thoughts?
No, full agreement. I think this is one of the best offenses in the AFC. And it's one of those ones that kind of remind me of like the dominant Patriots. Like they have like those few top tier names or those few vets. But then there's like guys that you're like, okay, I guess she'll be successful, and he is. And then it helps because of that is Josh Allen and the talent that Josh Allen is. I mean, our listeners know that you and I both feel Josh Allen's one of the most athletic players in the league and one of the most athletic athletes in this country. So like that helps. But yeah, it's a fun offense to take a part of. I personally feed into it here. I personally think you and I are on the same page, but I'm going to call Josh Allen the MVP of our Bills here. I think it's a kind of a no-brainer in regards to who the MVP is going to be. Somebody who's going to make a run towards that NFL MVP overall. But I think Josh Allen's going to be the MVP of the Bills.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Josh Allen is 101 in a super flex, and I don't think, as much as I love another guy in this division, Drake May, I don't think it's rather close. Josh Allen has been top 2 for the last 4 or 5 years in Dynasty. I mean, Dynasty points scored. He's finished 1 or 2 every single year for the last 4 or 5 years, which is insane. And until someone knocks him off that pedestal and is able to be that consistent, he's the best player in the NFL. In fantasy and in my opinion in real life as well. So this was very easy for me. MVP Josh Allen, best player in the league. Dark horse was a little more interesting. I was kind of hedging my bet because I still love this player who I've talked about consistently and has not shown up at all consistently. Keon Coleman is who I picked as the dark horse because if it's not this year, it's going to be never. So I'm having one more year. But I also kind of am hedging my bets because I think Skylar Bell or Keon Coleman, whichever one comes out of camp, is going to be the dark horse. But I told Keon Coleman.
I like the call. Keon Coleman's a great dark horse. There's a lot of cards against him at this time. Like you mentioned, with them bringing in 2 wide receivers and Skylar Bell and DJ Moore. Coleman has not lived up to the hype that his draft capital and his draft stock and his draft profile were able to provide. So I fully agree with the way you worded it. Coleman it's do or die this season. Somebody doesn't have necessarily as much cards against him, but I think he's going to have a lot more opportunity this year is Ray Davis, running back 2 of the Buffalo Bills. He's going to be my dark horse call for the Bills this season. He's locked in as that number 2, like I said. So if Cook were to miss any time, that's a massive workload that he's taking on. Furthermore, I know anybody that's a Cook owner has listened and heard that Cook is he's going to have a lot more involvement in the passing game coming out of camp. It seems like it's going to be a little bit more of a pass-heavy offense, and there's going to be a lot more passing games out of the backfield for James Cook. If James Cook's on the outside or James Cook's in the backfield in a kind of pistol situation, they do need a running back still, and that gets Ray Davis on the field a lot more opportunity. Gives Ray Davis on the field a lot more times. It gets to give him a lot more opportunities. You saw what Ray Davis was able to do last year. Week 18, he was able to start. He ran for 151 yards on 21 carries and caught a receiving touchdown. So he does have hands for the backfield and legs for the backfield as well. So I'm going to go with Ray Davis getting a lot more opportunity this year than he's had in the past and exploiting it perfectly.
One last thing I'll say about my dark horse, I forgot to mention, I think DJ Moore becoming the alpha for the wide receivers means that Keon Coleman doesn't have to, and he can do his own thing. So I think that'll help him as well. But I love Ray Davis as a call as well because he is one of the better handcuffs like you were talking about earlier. So love that call. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins. They re-signed Devon Achane through 2030. So another one of those top 3 from the 22 class gets paid as well. Also, they had a head coach in Jeff Hafley, former Packers defensive coordinator. He brings Malik Willis, the starting quarterback for the Dolphins this year, former Packer as well, over. Tutu Atwell, the former Ram wide receiver, comes in. Jalen Tolbert, former Cowboy wide receiver, comes in. Jalen Rager, who wasn't in the league last year, I saw, or didn't play last year. I don't know what happened there. He comes in. They lost their really only wide receiver left in Jalen Waddle, traded to the Broncos. I think it was for the number 30 pick.
Yeah, it was roughly
and then they traded that to the Jets, and that's how they got Omar Cooper Jr., I believe, something like that.
Yeah, something on those lines. The path around, yes.
Yeah, and then wide receiver Tyreek Hill was released, and then quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. We talked about him just a little bit previously, and he's with the Falcons now, possibly going to be their starter. Then they decided to draft a bunch of offensive players as well. More wide receivers coming into the mix here. We got wide receiver Caleb Douglas from Texas Tech, round 3, 75th overall. Tight end Will Kekmerick from Ohio State, round 3, 87th overall. Wide receiver Chris Bell from Louisville, round 3, 94 overall. They had a lot of round 3 picks. Wide receiver Kevin Coleman Jr. out of Missouri, round 5, 177th overall. And then finished up with tight end Seydou Traore.
Well done.
I apologize if I messed that up. Out of Mississippi State, round 5, 180 overall. They basically are revamping their offense or their team at this point, and just throwing stuff at the wall and see what sticks, I think. So this is one of the more difficult teams to talk about when you talk about fantasy, because you look at this team and there's one player, in my opinion, maybe two if you like the quarterback. That's my opinion. How about yours?
No, I agree. I think we're in agreement who that one player is, and he's my MVP. I believe he still your thunder, but for the sake of the pod smoothness, I believe he is your MVP as well. And Devon Achane, I think it's a no-brainer. I think the volume that he's going to obtain and the opportunity that he has being the sole engine of this offense. Regardless of who's playing quarterback and regardless of what they did in that wide receiver room, this is Achane's offense, and we'll see exactly what he can do.
I 100% agree. This is the only guy that matters on fantasy in my opinion. I'm not sold on the quarterback. Some people are. If he is able to succeed throwing the ball, he has wheels, so he'll be very good for fantasy if he's able to throw the ball in Malik Willis. But it is 100% Devon Achane. I have him as the third running back behind Gibbs and Bijan in Dynasty. I'm not 100% sold on the young kids yet, so I still have him at number 3. My dark horse, who may not even play this year, but if he plays, he's the best wide receiver on this team, I think, hands down. It's wide receiver Chris Bell. If he doesn't play, I felt like I had to have another dark horse. I don't think I'm ruining your thunder at all because you don't like this player. But Malik Washington is really the only other name that I saw that could possibly be a dark horse.
Let me change your mind because my dark horse is in that same wide receiver room. One that you just recently mentioned out of a 3rd-round draft pick in Caleb Douglas. No one is talking about Caleb Douglas, and I don't understand why. He has been given the keys to this wide receiver room that is kind of open. No knock on Malik Washington that you mentioned, and Chris Bell, who is on the injured reserve right now with that knee. But this wide receiver room is wide open. There is targets from Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill now available, and nobody really knows exactly who's going to obtain these. Greg Dulcich is going to obtain 300 catches? I don't think so. We need somebody else in there. And in my opinion, Caleb Douglas has a prime opportunity here. He has a physical profile that is dynamic. He's 6'4" with 206 pounds with a 79-inch wingspan. That's crazy. It's a heavy-bodied perimeter presence that a team like the Miami Dolphins could desperately use. He pairs that size with lightning fast speed. He ran a 4.39 40. That is insane for a man of his stature. So I believe with the opportunity that he's going to have with the possibility of involving the red zone impact that he shared in college, I think Caleb Douglas has an opportunity to break out of this wide receiver room and have a lot of people talking prior to Chris Bell's arrival.
I love it. And if those two can succeed, I think those two may end up being the best. I'm not 100% certain of Caleb Douglas. Don't know too much about him, so I appreciate your bringing that to our attention there. But I know when Chris Bell was healthy, he was a problem. But I'm excited to see what Caleb Douglas has, especially when you talk about 6'4" and speed. We love that in these parts here. So, and so does Miami. So we'll see what happens there. Next up, we have the New England Patriots. Excuse me. No re-signs from what it looked like until today with Hunter Henry. So that changes. And they added A.J. Brown, the former Eagle, obviously in that trade there. Wide receiver Romeo Doubs comes over, the former Packer. So they completely revamped their wide receiving room and now have two legitimate threats there. Departures, their only legitimate threat, and Stephon Diggs is now a Commander, as we talked about earlier. Quarterback Joshua Dobbs was released. Antonio Gibson, the running back, and Dearness Johnson, the running back, are both gone as well. And Austin Hooper, tight end, is now a Falcon again. And I think Dearness Johnson is now a Commander. But I don't believe Antonio Gibson's on the team right now. So they also drafted tight end Eli Raridan out of Wake Forest, round 3, 95 overall. Quarterback Baron Morton, out of Texas Tech in round 7, 234th overall. And then 245th overall in round 7, running back Jam Miller out of Alabama. Not much to really talk about for this team either. Good running backs, 2 good wide receivers, and a quarterback that is the next dude, in my opinion. Your thoughts?
No, for full agreement, and the quarterback being the next dude, he is my MVP coming out the gate. I'm going to swing with it. Drake May, I think he has gained nothing but positive experience from this past year. I know he lost in the Super Bowl, but he was able to experience a full ride in the postseason. He was able to acquire postseason wins, which is obviously very hard for quarterbacks to obtain. And he was able to experience the pressure of a Super Bowl situation. So he's been able to, win, not if, in my opinion, but when they go back to the Super Bowl at some point. Drake May can say, hey, I've been here before. I know what to expect. And that experience is going to take care of him tremendously. I think he's a no-brainer for the MVP because I think what he was able to produce numbers last year, just barely missing the league MVP behind Matthew Stafford. And now you're going to give him A.J. Brown, who's coming in with an absolute chip on his shoulder and a vengeance to be successful on a team that he has identified himself as his favorite team. So I think Drake May is a landslide winner here for MVP.
Yeah, absolutely. The only other option was probably A.J. Brown, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Just because I expect a lot out of him this year. But when you talk about Drake May, he's my quarterback 2 overall in Dynasty. So my number 2 player overall in Dynasty, right behind Josh Allen. So obviously he's my MVP. Dark horse, there's really no surprise. I've been talking about him since he was in Ohio State. TreVeyon Henderson at some point is going to take this backfield. He's better. He doesn't lose the ball, and he's better than Ramondre Stevenson. I know I said that twice, but he is. In college, he was actually really good at pass protecting as well, which is why that being the problem in the NFL is really interesting to a lot of us, it seems like. But I've said this before. I think TreVeyon Henderson, it's going to be that similar thing with Jahmyr Gibbs, where he wasn't really a focal point the first year. The second year started to take over. By the third year, it was all him. I think that's kind of where you're looking in this trajectory for TreVeyon Henderson, but I do think that he has that opportunity this year at some point. So he's my dark horse this year. And if he is able to take over the reins, God help the rest of the league with Drake May, A.J. Brown, and TreVeyon Henderson.
Full agreement. I think if he can get the blocking down and he can get some trust behind himself, behind the coaching staff, I agree. I think he is a lethal weapon that is just waiting to be unleashed. So I like the call. Speaking of a weapon that needs to be a little bit more talked about, in my opinion, is Romeo Doubs. He is going to be my dark horse for this team here. He is a highly compelling fantasy football dark horse, in my opinion, because of obviously his move to New England. Prior to the A.J. Brown commitment, Romeo Dobbs was arguably the best wide receiver on his team. I think he's going to be given a great opportunity with as much praise as I gave in Drake May. Drake May is going to be his quarterback. I think, there's going to be a lot of focus on A.J. Brown from defenses, rightfully so. With that being said, I think it's going to open up Dobbs a little bit more in the backfield. I think he's going to get identified himself as a target earner and a red zone threat because he has a significant track record in the red zone. So I'm going to go with Romeo Dobbs as my dark horse here. Not to be the best wide receiver one on his team, but I think he's going to be a superior fantasy football weapon and a superior weapon for Drake May in the NFL.
So I see this as they're going to work out perfect together. One's going to be the possession receiver, short yardage, but good. And then one is A.J. Brown, who is a alpha of alphas. And Romeo Dobbs is okay not being the focal point. Obviously, he was in the Green Bay Packers system, which didn't have a focal point. So that helps as well. He kind of knows if you just do your thing and you'll get the ball. And now you're going with one of the best throwers of the football in Drake May, as we've talked about already. I agree with you. I think he was my number 2 dark horse just because I love Trevion Henderson too much, but I love your call there. Last up, we have the New York Jets. No re-signs, but they do add quarterback Geno Smith, formerly from the Seahawks, wide receiver Tim Patrick as well. They do lose Justin Fields to the Chiefs. We'll see if he ends up being a starter for the Chiefs in the beginning of the season or if Mahomes is going to be healthy. Also, they draft tight end Kenyon Sadiq in the first round out of Oregon, number 16 overall. They come back in the first round and draft Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana in the first round as well, number 30 overall. And then later on, pick up quarterback Cade Klubnik out of Clemson in round 4, 110 overall. Quarterback is a little worrisome, to be nice. But they have a bunch of weapons on this team if they are able to find a thrower of the football.
Yeah, well said. And unfortunately, we can feed into this is one of those weapons is my MVP and arguably one of the best wide receivers in the league, and Garrett Wilson. I believe the talent is there. He has been overshadowed. He was injured last season. He missed he missed almost the entire season. But even like the 4 or 5 games that he was active, he ended up being like the second leading receiver on the team, even missing half the season. Garrett Wilson is getting an upgrade with Geno Smith, which shows the type of resume that Garrett Wilson has had in regards to the quarterback. Geno Smith is considered an upgrade. Geno Smith was able to achieve 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons with Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle, Mike White, Aaron Rodgers for a hot minute. Geno Smith, again, gives Wilson that high-efficient signal caller. Early chemistry, from what I'm reading from camp, has already been the focal point, and it's going well. So I do believe Garrett Wilson will carry Geno Smith and this Jets offense.
Yeah, so I'm worried about Geno. He played absolutely horrible last year. So I went with the running back, Breece Hall. I think talent-wise, he's one of the best in the league. Right after that triumvirate that we've talked about already today, in that next group of running backs. But he's on the Jets, so he's stuck. But I do believe he is going to be a focal point this year. When your head coach is a defensive play caller or defensive side or worries about the defensive side of the ball before he was a head coach, then usually you run the ball a lot. And Breece Hall is right there for it. So I like Breece Hall a little bit over Garrett Wilson just because I'm worried about Geno Smith, to be honest with you. And then my dark horse, I think you have the same one. It's not a surprise. We've been talking about him all offseason, through the draft process and otherwise. Kenyon Sadiq, I am stoked for him to finally play football in the NFL because I think he's going to be a weapon as a tight end and fly into that top 8, top whatever you want to call it, top 8, top 10 tight ends even this year.
No, full agreement. Kenyon Sadiq is the ultimate blueprint of the modern NFL tight end. It makes him that premier high ceiling asset in any dynasty format that you take, tight end premium or not. He has elite broad jump and vertical metrics. He profiles as a dynamic hybrid weapon who can flex out wide or dominate down the seam. He has a unique blend of wide receiver level athleticism and fluid route running, which gives him massive developmental ceiling. I think anybody building a dynasty roster for long-term dominance or competitiveness, Sadiq is one to be put on the rosters. He's a nightmare mismatch, in my opinion, and his value is going to skyrocket once the season starts.
No, full agreement in everything you said. We have had some stellar tight ends come through. I think he's not quite to that level in the last 3 years or 4 years that have been drafted, but right below those Bowers, McBride, Loveland, Warren, Kraft, even you can put in there. After them, I think he's in that conversation already. Going to be in that conversation by the end of this year. So yeah, wheels up on him. We both love him. We've talked about him quite a bit throughout this entire process.
Yeah.
AFC East. Do you want to go first? You want me to go first? Up to you.
I'll go first here, and then you can handle the NFC. The AFC East, I went with Josh Allen as my quarterback. I went with Mr. Offense here, so Josh Allen as my quarterback. I went with Devon Achane as my lead running back because of obvious reasons of him being our MVP. My wide receiver, I went with A.J. Brown, somebody who we didn't get to mention too much in regards to our breakdowns here because he's going to be able to produce. So A.J. Brown's going to be my wide receiver. My tight end, I went with Dalton Kincaid out of Buffalo. I think he is a fantastic offensive weapon when healthy, so he's going to be my tight end. And my flex position is going to be Garrett Wilson for all the reasons of why I stated Garrett Wilson is going to be the MVP of the New York Jets. My MVP for the AFC East is going to be Drake May. I think, again, he is in store for one hell of a season. I think it's going to be just as good, if not better, than last season. And last season, he missed the MVP by just a few votes. So I'm going to go with the MVP of the East, Drake May. And then my dark horse is going to be the rookie tight end, Kenyon Sadiq. I do believe he should be identified as a dark horse because he is coming in already with a little bit of injury. He's missing some camp with that hernia setback. He's not going to start right away, but I do believe Kenyon Sadiq is going to be one of the most dominant offensive weapons on this Jets offense.
No, absolutely love it. We have a lot of the same names, just in different places. I have quarterback Drake May. Running back, I don't think there was another option than Devon Achane. For me and you, we both like him a lot. Wide receiver, A.J. Brown as well. I think he's by far the best wide receiver in this group, in this division. I actually have the rookie Kenyon Sadiq as the best tight end already in this division because I heard a stat today that Dalton Kincaid actually had the third most routes run on his own team last year because of his injuries. I am terrified. I'm a huge fan of Dalton Kincaid, but his injury record is pretty rough. So I like what you said. When he's on the field, he might be the best one in this division, but I get worried that he might not be on the field a whole lot. However, one guy we don't talk about a whole lot, and I don't know why that is. I don't know if he's just in that top 7 running backs, but never really talked about because he's not the best. James Cook. He's my flex for this division. And then MVP, since Drake May's the quarterback, Josh Allen has to be the MVP. It's one or the other, right? In this division. And then my dark horse, and I picked dark horses based on if this guy hits, the entire division changes, and it's Trevion Henderson. And we're going to move on to player profile. I don't have a good segue. Sorry. We're going to talk about a running back since we just talked about a couple of them. There you go. Kyren Williams, Los Angeles Rams. Running back is going to do a player profile today. He is 5'9", 207 pounds, 25 years old, came out of the 2022 class. What a shock. We talk about them a lot. 5th round, pick 164 out of Notre Dame. He's had 4 seasons, but only 3 of them as a starter. And got hurt, I think, in that first season there, too. So 2 years over 13 games played, which was his last 2 years, 25 and 24. Over 200 carries and 1,100 rushing yards in all 3 years, though. Over 10 touchdowns all 3 years. Over 30 receptions and around 200 yards receiving all 3 years as well.
Kyren Williams, to me, I have him projected as like a high-end RB2, low-end RB1 for this upcoming year. He's so polarizing, like we've mentioned, because like despite 3 consecutive seasons where he had RB1 production, his consensus rating is like an RB15. I think that's heavily driven by Blake Corum. Corum averaged double-digit carries over the final 11 games last year. Rams could easily pivot to a 60-40 or even a 50-50 split to keep Williams fresh. So you got that issue potentially. Williams also doesn't necessarily bring much to the passing game. He struggled with efficiency through the air last year. I believe he had he was 35th out of 42 qualifying running backs with 0.81 yards per route. That's abysmal in a NFL game that is now relying on the running backs to have some type of pass catching ability. And something that doesn't get necessarily talked about too much is Kyren Williams not only is decent, but is utilized in punt returns and kick returns. Now, most dynasty leagues don't really count those as points. So you're really just taking on an injury risk there when it's freight train colliding with freight train. But I'm not going to talk all negative about Kyren Williams. Even with Corum heavily involved, Williams did retain 58% of the Rams' red zone carries and 56% of the touches inside the 10-yard line last season. So as much as everyone likes to portray Corum as this bowling ball type running back, Kyren's still getting the opportunities in the red zone that dynasty players desperately crave. He has elite efficiency. He led all 49 NFL running backs with 100-plus carries and rushing success with 62%. And let's not forget that the Rams are financially committed to him. They gave him a 3-year, $33 million extension, which 23 of it was guaranteed. 23 million was guaranteed. So he's gonna be paid here for the next 2 years after this contract is now, and they're committed to him. I think, like I said, he has had the opportunity. When he's given the opportunity, he's had 3 consecutive RB1 type production numbers. There are some negatives, like I mentioned about him, and I do know last year was showing signs of improvement, but he does have a little bit of fumbleitis. So again, a little bit having that type of aspect in there, you could see a little bit more for him. But I like Kyren Williams as an NFL running back. I like Kyren Williams as a dynasty asset. I would like him more in a redraft asset as opposed to a dynasty asset, because I do feel that the Corum momentum is going to carry into a more of a 60-40 split. But I think Kyren Williams is still, I think those numbers speak for themselves, especially the ones that have him in the red zone, of him being efficient and being utilized.
Yeah, no, I think he's solid for the scheme, and that's really all there is to it. McVay's scheme works really well for what he does, and the only other problem I see is, you kind of said it a few times there, Blake Corum's coming. I mean, he was good in college. He has he's looked good for the time that he's been on the field in the NFL, and he's a pure running back, man. So I think that's the worry and why everyone has him a little bit further down. I mean, you talk about over 1,100 yards for 3 years in a row, to basically start your career, and you're still disrespected as much as you are in the media and everything like that. And no one disagrees with it because of what you see in Corum as well. I don't remember if you said it on the pod or if it was before when we were talking pre, but you said that Blake Corum is probably one of, if not the backup running back to have. The handcuff. Thank you. So I 100% agree with that, but he's still a handcuff, in my opinion. I do have him a little bit lower than most people do. Just I'm a Blake Corum guy, but I also see the value in Kyren Williams. But they also have 2 really good wide receivers. They have 8 tight ends, it seems like, that are all apparently on the field at the same time. Not sure how that happens. McVay figures that out though. So there's a lot of mouths to feed on that team, and if you add another running back to this mix, like they did in the second half of last year, regular season, numbers could dwindle quickly. So real quick, fantasy value. He is running back 16, tier 4 between Saquon Barkley and Jadarian Price. I have him at running back 19 between Josh Jacobs and DeAndre Swift. Overall, he's 65, tier 9 between Rashee Rice and Mekhi Lemon. And Dak Prescott, T. Higgins, Jalen Waddle, and Tucker Kraft are in that mix as well. I have him at 75 overall, so a little bit lower, you figure, with a running back 19. Between T. Higgins and DeAndre Swift, Baker Mayfield, Kenyon Sadiq, Harold Fannin, DK Metcalf, all in that mix as well. What do you think about the rankings there?
No, I like the mix, especially the last, say, 15 seconds of your statements there. I like exactly where he's at, to be honest with you, with that T. Higgins and company. I think it's a decent spot for him, especially like you said with Corum coming. But his usage is already being utilized, I think, polarizing to say the least, but I think he's ranked pretty appropriately.
Yeah, I'm a little bit lower than consensus, but not too far off. Running back 19 versus 16, so and then only 10 spot difference. So this one is pretty close, which isn't normal. So average 2026 pick value, they say 104 to the 108 if you still have a draft like Jeremy does. If I was trying to acquire Kyren Williams, I would not be able to take him, would not be able to give up the 106 or better for me personally. That's kind of where Casey Concepcion goes, and I have him higher than Kyren Williams. So in future pick value, 2027 mid to late first is what KTC says, which is what we use for this. I kind of split this. Early second, I would give for him, but I would try to get a late first if I was trying to trade him away. So it's right between that late first, early second in the 2027 class. You know how much I love this class, so I'm a little bit biased on that, but I think that's where it's at.
And it's a good spot. That's what makes him so polarizing, because that's a significant swing to be a late first, early second type running back. And it's probably one he doesn't get traded too often, because you have the owners who are demanding that he gets a first round pick. But you have the individuals grabbing him. Understand, again, his red zone efficiency and the type of running back that he is. But you're going to argue the Blake Corum effect when you're trying to acquire him. If you want him or not, you're going to acquire the Blake. You're going to mention the Blake Corum effect with Kyren Williams at all times until we see it develop a little bit more in regards to a 70-30.
You're absolutely right, unless you are both on the same page, which usually is not the case. We're going to move on to the NFC East. We're going to start out with the Dallas Cowboys. They re-signed Javonte Williams, 3-year, $24 million. And George Pickens gets franchised, the wide receiver. Javonte Williams, obviously, their starting running back as well. They add Sam Howell. Not sure if that's a big deal or not, but as a backup from the Eagles. Also lose Miles Sanders, the running back, to free agency. And then they draft another wide receiver, Anthony Smith, out of East Carolina in round 7, 218. If you remember how bad the defense was and how many times we made fun of the defense, they spent a lot of picks on defense. So that's why they didn't do much in the draft. So what's your opinion of the Dallas Cowboys here? I mean, I know we have the two wide receivers who we both love and a great quarterback. So what are your thoughts?
I think they are one of the best offenses in the NFC. I know we talked about the Buffalo Bills being one of the best offenses in the AFC, but I think Dallas is with the 1-2 punch that they have at the wide receiver. Like, we're talking wide receivers that are similar, to my opinion, to the Cincinnati Bengals, where we have George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, both elite talents that could be wide receiver ones on other teams, and yet they are wide receiver 1 and 2 on the Dallas Cowboys. It is an absolute Christmas tree worth of presents for Dak Prescott, who, in my opinion, is going to be the Dallas Cowboys MVP. Why not? You are given the best wide receiver pairing in the NFC, like I mentioned, with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. You have a high volume passing rate. This is one of the most passing offenses in the league. It's a very pass heavy identity. They have an elite attempt volume as well. I think 35 attempts roughly a game, which is crazy as an average. And they have they have all the tools there. So I believe Dak Prescott's going to be the MVP of the Dallas Cowboys. And just feeding into the Dak Prescott weapons, I'll run with it here. My dark horse is actually going to be Jake Ferguson, the tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. He is not getting as much love as I thought he would get. The tight end is one of those positions in Dallas that has been successful for many years, like it has been for New England that we talked about. Like we have Dalton Schultz was fantastic for several years. Jason Witten. Like we have names that are always going to be dominant tight ends. Jake Ferguson, I'm not saying he's in the elite level, but Jake Ferguson has been able to produce with these types of numbers, even with the types of tight ends, even with the types of wide receivers that he has as target share that he has, in my opinion. It's a hyper concentrated passing attack, like I mentioned. That's why I like Dak Prescott a lot this year. He's guaranteed Ferguson. That is, he's guaranteed to push about 95 to 105 targets this season, in my opinion, which is around tight end one volume. And again, we're talking about a very successful and a very pass heavy offense. Why not have the tight end that no one is talking about while they're covering Pickens, while they're covering CD, or at least attempting to cover these individuals? Why not have the tight end who has been proven to be successful in this passing offense with Dak Prescott to be the dark horse for this team?
I like it. My dark horse is a very, 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 very dark horse. I think it was the same one as last year because I didn't trust Javonte Williams. This year, it's literally because I didn't think there was another dark horse on the team. So I picked Jaden Blue. Jake Ferguson's a good call. I do like that call. It's probably better than mine, but they have to have another running back on this team at some point because Javonte had a really nice year last year. It's like the first time he's been healthy all year in his career. So hopefully Jaden Blue is able to take that step. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's going to be good, but we haven't seen it quite yet. My MVP, I don't think it's a surprise. I love wide receivers. CeeDee Lamb's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I have him in that top five there. I know a lot of people have dropped him out. I think it's just because of an injury. And George Pickens was able to play very well last year. I think CeeDee Lamb comes back to form and has arguably his best year outside of his dominant year. I'll say that. Probably his second best year in his career, especially with someone on the other side. New York Giants, we got a bunch of stuff going on for them. They re-signed Jameis Winston as a backup quarterback there. Add, obviously, a head coach in John Harbaugh, formerly from the Ravens. He brings over Isaiah Likely, tight end. Wide receiver Darnell Mooney comes in from the Falcons. Wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. comes back out of nowhere. And then Juju Smith-Schuster comes to the Giants from the Chiefs. They do lose Wan'Dale Robinson to the Titans, which is a big loss for them because he was their number one receiver last year and had a bunch of targets, good possession receiver there for them. And then they drafted wide receiver Malachi Fields out of Notre Dame in round 374 overall. All of that to say, their MVP is going to be Malik Nabers because he comes back and is a dominant wide receiver.
No, well said. I have to agree with that. And I'll actually paint this with a different colored brush. I'm going to go with Malik Nabers as my dark horse. I know it sounds a little crazy as a wide receiver one and a guy with the elite talent that Malik Nabers has as a dark horse, but let's not downplay the significant ACL injury, leg injury that he had. He tore his ACL, he tore his meniscus in week 4 of last season. Again, without that injury, I fully agree he's a full-time MVP. So I'm going with him as a dark horse. So I'm going positive here. I'm just, again, painting with a different brush here because, again, there's a lot against him. There was a lot against him. He's already starting to prove the doubters wrong. I was one of the doubters. I'm not necessarily saying he was never going to return in his form, but I was really concerned about the severity of the injury. But I think Malik Nabers is primed to have one hell of a year if he comes out healthy and he didn't rush this injury and he didn't rush the return and he's able to cooperate with that field at MetLife. I think he's fantastic for a dark horse option. As my MVP, I'm going to go with my absolute boy in the NFC East, if not the NFC, and Jackson Dart. And I think he, with his elite rushing upside, his massive year 2 potential under John Harbaugh, and his vastly upgraded arsenal of weapons that we've talked about, he is considered to be a prime MVP for leagues around and the New York Giants in the whole. Dart's development at camp has been very successful so far. Under Harbaugh, he seems to be clicking under all cylinders with everything that's going on. The fully weaponized passing offense that we were talking about with the return of Malik Neighbors, the additions of Isaiah Likely, who has emerged, from what I understand, out of camp as the top wide receiver option for him. And then obviously having Cam Scatterbo come back. I mean, that's a big thing to make your offense a little bit more universal. I think with John Harbaugh leading the program, the training wheels, if you will, of Jackson Dart are going to come off. I think Harbaugh has a proven track record of maximizing dual threat quarterbacks. So, Dart's rushing will not be restricted, in my opinion. I think they're going to work on him sliding and staying healthy. But I do believe that we're going to have a year 2 lead for Jackson Dart.
No, I love it. And I love that you said the sliding, because I think he got applauded for sliding yesterday or something like that, which I don't know why you would get applauded for that, but I guess he's learned how to slide correctly, which is great. Hopefully he uses it in the game and isn't insane like he was last year. But I'm going to go with the other concussion brother in Cam Scatterbo as my dark horse. What's that saying? I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. That is Cam, my man.
That is Cam Scatterbo.
I love the guy. I can't not love this guy. I don't know if you could consider him a dark horse or not. Coming off of a severe injury, just like you were talking about, Malik Neighbors, man, I think he's going to have a heck of a year if he's able to stay healthy. I've liked this guy since Arizona State. We've talked about him since then, pretty much. And I'm stoked to see what these 3 hopefully will be fully healthy. These 3, and then you add in Isaiah Likely, you add in Odell Beckham Jr. if he has anything left. You add in the rookie Malachi Fields, which a lot of people believe is a good rookie to have on this team, a good piece to have as well. This team is going to be a lot of fun. If their defense can hold up, or I'm hoping their defense can hold up, and we just see a bunch of points and see this offense on the field all the time, that'd be sweet, because it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Like I said, I got nothing else to say about the Giants, but it's going to be fun. Might be scary, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I fully agree.
Next up, we go to the Philadelphia Eagles, who no one thinks is fun. They re-signed Dallas Goedert. They add wide receiver Hollywood Brown, formerly from the Chiefs. They add wide receiver Dontavian Wicks, formerly from the Packers. Quarterback Andy Dalton from the Panthers, traded from the Panthers. Running back Dameon Pierce, which I'm not sure why, from the Chiefs. And wide receiver Elijah Moore, formerly from the Broncos. Hey, I was a Dameon Pierce fan, and then
I was too, man.
Got hurt and has not been the same since.
No.
His rookie year, it was very, very sad.
It was a fun rookie year.
His rookie year was incredible.
Pierce,
13
man.
games, man. That's 13 games for a running back.
Yeah, he was fun. He was fun.
Yeah. So they do have a few departures as well. They're number 1 and number 3 wide receivers, respectively, in Jahan Dotson, Falcons, and A.J. Brown traded to the Patriots, as we talked about already today. Sam Howell goes to the Cowboys, as we talked about already today, as the quarterback. And then running back A.J. Dillon is Panther. I'm assuming he's third string. And they also draft a few guys, which we talked about. Wide receiver Makai Lemon, excuse me. Talked about Malachi Fields just a minute ago, so I got confused. Out of USC, in the first round, 20th overall. Tight end Eli Stowers out of Vanderbilt in round 2, 54 overall. And then quarterback in Cole Payton out of North Dakota State, round 5, 178 overall. I'm going to go first on this because this guy has been disrespected by more people than I care to admit, even more than Kyren Williams has been disrespected. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and I don't care. I'll fight that to the death. Jalen Hurts is the MVP on this team.
No, I can't disagree with Jalen Hurts. I mean, he's a superior fantasy weapon that you would love to have. He has a passing game. He has a rushing game, which he personally has the rushing game. He's a great weapon, so you can't go wrong with Jalen Hurts as the MVP. I'm actually going with somebody who has had a very significant upgrade this offseason. My MVP is actually going to be Devontae Smith. He was leaving passes from Jalen Hurts. Look, he had a significant upgrade this offseason by losing A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown was a significant target monster for what passing game that the Eagles had. And without A.J. Brown there, it moves Devonta Smith right up the ranks in regards to wide receiver one very easily, very quickly. And Devonta Smith is going to have so many opportunities. Without sharing the field, he performs as another alpha receiver, in my opinion. When isolated on the outside, without safety help, Smith posted an exceptional 3.1 yards per route. That is an insane number, and it was one of the leading ones in the league. In games played of the past two seasons without A.J. Brown, Smith's target share skyrocketed to 35%. So they utilized Smith without A.J. Brown, and I can't see that changing. I'm going to go with Devonta Smith as my MVP.
Dude, I can't knock that at all. Devontae Smith, I think, takes a huge jump up as well. I remind people all the time, he was the last wide receiver Heisman Trophy winner in NCAA. He is a stud talent. A.J. Brown is just a freak of nature. And now that he's out of the way, Mekhi Lemon, he kind of does things a little bit differently. So I think they're going to work out really well together. I just think Devontae Smith is going to take an absolute step forward as top 10, arguably, wide receiver in this league. I agree with you on that. I said it very quickly because I'm annoyed with everybody who says that Jalen Hurts is not that good. Outperformed who everyone says is the best quarterback in the NFL twice in 2 Super Bowls, 2 back-to-back years. Won one of them, got screwed the other one. It just bothers me that people talk negative on Jalen Hurts, that he can't throw, things like that. That's absolutely insane. He's one of these top 5 quarterbacks and should be in everyone's top 5 consistently. Yes, he lost A.J. Brown. However, he has 2 tight ends, Saquon Barkley, and 3 wide receivers, really, because we don't even talk about Dontavian Wicks, who was a significant part of that Packers team last year as well. As a wide receiver 3, it's going to be hard to find someone better than that outside of Juwan Jennings. So very excited for Jalen Hurts. I do, however, have my dark horse as another rookie, Eli Stowers, really because I couldn't find another dark horse on this team. I've said this before, but Eli Stowers, if he's able to kind of supplant Goddard like Goddard did with Ertz, and just continue this tight end carousel that works for the Eagles, the Eagles are going to be good for another few years in that position because Eli has all the tools. He just ended up being behind Dallas Goedert instead of kind of doors open for him there. So really excited for Eli Stowers.
And this is one of those ones that we agree on. I fully agree with you on everything you said, enough that I agree with you on Eli Stowers being the dark horse for this Philadelphia offense. Look, Goddard isn't getting any younger. Goddard for the past 3 seasons has not put together a full season in regards to health. Stowers is going to have an opportunity here. The Philadelphia Eagles is a team that loves to favor the tight end. I know we've talked about a few of them tonight already, but they've had successful tight ends. As you mentioned, the carousel. I like that analogy. So yeah, that's something that's going to come into play. And something else that nobody really talks about in regards to Eli Stowers is he could be this next potential Taysom Hill type player. Stowers began his collegiate career as a 4-star quarterback recruit for Texas A&M before he transitioned to tight end. Nobody really talks about that too much. So that's something that maybe Philadelphia is known for their gadget roles. They love their gadget plays. Stowers could be a very unique weapon for that team. Another thing that we need to be talking about is Stowers is one of those ones that lined up in a slot as well during his collegiate routes. 71% of the times he lined up in the slot, which was the highest marks in this entire rookie class. So we have a situation where, he has individuals in front of him like Dallas Goedert, but if you're going to utilize him as a slot weapon as well, similar to what I'm hearing with Kenyon Sadiq, the opportunities are endless.
No, that's a great point. Absolutely. I love that. So last team here that we're going to talk about today is the Washington Commanders. They had no re-signs. The ads, again, there's quite a bit. Running back Rashad White, formerly from the Buccaneers. Wide receiver Stephon Diggs, formerly from the Patriots. We talked about that earlier. Wide receiver Diamond Brown from the Jaguars. He actually comes back to the Commanders, who drafted him. Wide receiver Van Jefferson from the Titans. Running back Jerome Ford from the Patriots, as I learned just now. And then tight end Chig Okonkwo from the Titans as well. They did lose Deebo Samuel. He went back to the 49ers, and Zach Ertz is a free agent from what I see. And then they drafted wide receiver Antonio Williams out of Clemson, round 3, 71 overall. Running back Katron Allen out of Penn State, round 6, 187 overall. And then quarterback Ethan Kalikmanis out of Rutgers. Sorry if I butchered that. I apologize. Round 7, 223 overall. Yeah, I mean, it's the two old wide receivers and Jaden Daniels, I think, right?
Yeah, I'm full agreement. And Jaden Daniels is enough for me to be the MVP of this team. He's a premier fantasy football MVP, in my opinion. Like, because he has that league-altering rushing upside. He has that. He has upgraded his offensive coordinator this offseason. And now he has an elite arsenal of wide receivers. Like we talked about briefly, Stephon Diggs coming into play. That's going to be a huge piece for him. And Chig Okonkwo, I think that's somebody who is not necessarily somebody that's being talked about enough. So much so that I'll use this as my segue, that I'm utilizing Chig Okonkwo so much that I'm going to make him my dark horse for this offense for the Commanders. He's going into this as the alpha tight end. He's the clear-cut tight end 1 on this roster. Ben Sinnott, the tight end 2, and we haven't seen anything from Ben Sinnott. He hasn't been able to break through that glass wall, a glass ceiling in regards to any type of opportunity given. In my honest opinion, I think he's going to get north of 75% snap share. Chig is. So I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities to be on the field with, again, a passing offense that tends to take off a little bit when Jaden Daniels is healthy. David Blau is the offensive coordinator that I was talking about earlier, and he operates a West Coast system that relies heavily on tight end production, not just tight end blocking or tight end usage, but tight end production. So there's a lot of play action release. There's a lot of opportunities to make Okonkwo a safety valve for Jaden Daniels, and any type of RPOs or anything on those lines. So I think Chig Okonkwo is going to have a hell of a year. I think he's going to be a fantastic offensive weapon for Jaden Daniels. And we're going to see exactly how well the tight end game is in the NFC East.
Yeah, I like Chig Okonkwo. I like him a little bit less now that they have Stephon Diggs, but I do like him. My dark horse is Corey Krosky-Merritt. Someone has to be the starting running back on this team, and I think he is. I know Rashad White is a really good pass catcher, but not very good between the tackles. Corey Krosky-Merritt is pretty good between the tackles and becoming a better pass catcher from what it sounds like in the offseason. As far as the MVP, it has to be Jaden Daniels, because if he's hurt, they're terrible. If he's healthy, they went to the NFC Championship game his rookie year. It has to be Jaden Daniels. If it's anybody else, they are terrible. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to say about the Commanders, but I mean, the running back, we'll see what happens. I think Katron Allen has a chance of being important as well for this team, but I do like Corey Krosky-Merritt a little bit better than everybody else in that backfield. The 2 wide receivers, I think we've talked enough about. Chig Okonkwo, I like a lot, but it all runs if Jaden Daniels is healthy.
Yep, I was just going to say that. Yeah, we know exactly we've seen what this team can do with him. We've seen what this team can do without him. Let's go a year with him, because it's fun for football and it's fun for fantasy.
Absolutely. Let's do that, and let's have him as the NFC North quarterback. What about that segue?
Very nice.
Also, the running back, Saquon Barkley is a dude, and he's going to be back to being a dude this year, I believe. Wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, back to being a dude. Tight end, Isaiah Likely. Flex Malik Neighbors, just because CeeDee Lamb's in this division. And my MVP, I've talked about him enough. He's disrespected enough. I absolutely love him. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, Jalen Hurts. And my dark horse is Corey Krosky-Merritt because I do believe he takes over this backfield, especially with Jaden Daniels being able to run with him. It opens up the option for him as well.
I love the call here, Big Bill, especially. He almost made my team, but I couldn't pass up on the other options that I had. I went with a quarterback again, Jackson Dart, who I think is going to have a fantastic year, rushing, passing, etc. I think he's going to have that year two jump that we like to see in our quarterbacks. So I'm going to go with Jackson Dart. I too am going with Saquon Barkley as my running back. I too am going with CeeDee Lamb as my wide receiver. I'm going to back up on my word in regards to the dark horse, and in a very favorable tight end division, I'm going Chigagonkwo as my tight end. I'm going Devontae Smith as my flex position. So that leaves out two individuals here. And the obvious answer for MVP is Dak Prescott, in my opinion. Again, with the elite weapons that he has, the passing game that is there, and the talent that he is with his arm and his legs, I think he's going to be the MVP of the NFC East. And my dark horse is going to be Eli Stowers. Again, as talked about his praise in regards to everything in between. I think he breaks out and has a fantastic and successful rookie season in that very heavily offense, a very tight end friendly offense in Philadelphia.
So I have to point out one thing. We've done this for 2 or 3 years. I can't remember. I think this is the second year we're doing this division or breakdown by division. This is the first one I can remember that we used all 4 quarterbacks. This quarterback division is sick.
Yeah, full agreement. And I mentioned on it too. Quarterback division is sick, and the tight end division is sick. I think the tight end division is one of those ones where it has the most potential out of all the ones. Like, you're not going to necessarily, you don't have the Travis Kelce's and the Trey McBrides and the Brock Bowers, and you don't have these heavy hitters in this division, but you're going to have 4 tight ends, in my opinion, and Isaiah Likely, who I've talked numerous times about, Chigagonkwo, who I've talked ad nauseum this evening, Eli Stowers, my dark horse, and then Jake Ferguson, who gets no love with the passing offense of the Dallas Cowboys. But I think the tight ends are a fantastic aspect, and they're going to be talked about at the end of the season just as much as the quarterbacks are talked about at the present day.
I love it. So next week we're going to talk about the AFC South. A little bit different than the NFC North quarterback-wise. We got the Houston Texans, Indianapolis Colts, Jacksonville Jaguars, Tennessee Titans. We're going to break halftime there, talk about a quarterback as well in Bo Nix with our player profile, and then come back with the NFC South, Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For Jeremy, I'm Mickey. This has been Dynasty of the Mountaintops. Check us out on YouTube, Apple, and Podbean. Also, our socials at dynastymttops on X and Blue Sky. Also, email us, dynastymttops@gmail.com for any feedback or comments. Topics you want to hear. We're getting into the regular season, so probably not going to get those topics until next off season. But if you want to hear something, let us know. Also, feel free to comment on any of those platforms that I talked about before, YouTube, Apple, and Podbean, and we'll check those out as well. Again, for Jeremy, I'm Mickey. This has been Dynasty of the Mountaintops. Have a great week, and we are almost there.
We are on our way, man. Football, baby. Bring it on as much as you can.